Today we are going to be doing these two paintings using a palette of only 5 colors. So stay tuned, see how it's done. In the mail over the weekend I received this package, and inside happens to be the 5 starter set of Roman Szmal Aquarius watercolor paints. Got their primary set with the extra Aquarius green and Caput Mortuum. Very cool. Cannot wait to try this out. And just like everyone else's experience with this paint, once you unwrap the foil around each one and you try and pull up the wax paper topping, these paints are sticky. So a lot of people will put them in the freezer for no more than 3 minutes because you don't want to freeze them. I just put mine in the refrigerator for about 5 minutes. And along with this package, I also received another package in the mail, which was this airtight palette. I saw this on Irit Landgraf's YouTube site. Anyway, it was really cool because it has the place in the middle that you can actually put half pans and full pans in. And I figured the space around the edge where you usually put the paint, you could use for extra mixing. So this one's pretty neat. And right now the metal tabs are loose enough all the paint would just fall out. That's super easy to fix later. And you can see it has this clear section in. So if you run out of mixing space, you can just pick it up and use the space under it. And here are my paints after getting them out of the refrigerator, and that wax paper topping just comes right off. And you can see if I put them in now, they'll just fall out. So you just take your fingers and pull those tabs towards you or away from you if you're on the other side, of course. And then you can make them as tight as you want. So it's great. You can see here I'll put them all in and tip it upside down and nothing will fall out. Shake it. So as tight or as loose as you want. It's up to you. And I have a lot of room for extra stuff. Give it the shake test, all good. And now that I've got those silly things in there, I realize I really need to write the pigment information and the name and the brand on them because I'll probably switch them around into other palettes or add things to this palette, and it would be kind of nice to know what they are. So I do that real quick, and then I take a moment to measure and create a swatch sheet that will live inside the palette. And right now it'll just have these 5 paints on it because that's all I have in there so far. Gotta figure out if I want to add more to this or put these in a different palette or what I want to do. So here we have Lemon Yellow PY61, Aquarius Red PR214, Ultramarine Light PB29, Aquarius Green, which is 3 pigments, PY150, PBR25, and PB29, and the Caput Mortuum is PR102. And here you see me creating a color chart, which is where you take every color and you mix it with every other color, and then you do a light version of that color on the half that would otherwise be blank. And this was invaluable. Having this chart when I did these 2 paintings was really, really handy. And there's way more mixes you can create than just these on this chart. Obviously, more water, less water, more of one color than the other. It's kind of endless, but it gives you a really good base to start with. And for these 2 paintings today, these are my supplies. The palette you just saw me set up, 2 waters, one for clean water and one for dirty, my 8x10 Arches watercolor block, my Winsor & Newton round 12, a couple of random brushes from an art supply box, my big hockey brush, and the color chart that you just saw me set up. Then I'm going to start my painting day by doing my version of the reference I just popped up in the corner for you. And you can see I wet the entire paper first with my large hockey brush. And I have a lot of furry animals in the house, so I took a moment there and got the stray hairs off the paper. That's always fun, right? Now I start with the lemon yellow and basically start creating that crazy bright background, which is actually one of my favorite parts about this painting. And it also has some drops of really bright color, purples and whatnot in it. And so I'm really loving that kind of style, and I use all 5 colors to get my darks. I really like the dark that I get when I mix the Aquarius green with the Caput Mortuum. At least for this painting, I do it slightly differently in the next one. And the Aquarius green on its own is a gorgeous color, by the way, so I highly recommend that. Even though it's a 3 pigment color, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And now we get to the part of the painting where you have to let it dry. And that's one thing I was really impressed with. The dry shift on this was not very drastic. You probably just saw that there. Not bad. I mean, it was pretty subtle. And in fact, the camera actually makes the drying shift show up worse than it actually was in person. I absolutely hate working with paints that have a massive drying shift. So I really enjoyed the fact that these were great. They just kind of kept their vibrancy and their darkness. So win all the way around in my book. So what you've seen me doing here so far is just to make my darks darker, and I'm starting to add in those other vibrant colors, the reds, purples, oranges, and it just looks so pretty at this point. I love paintings like this where they have just a random blotch of color and then you make something out of it. So here I'm making the crooked pillars. I don't know if that's the right word, but the posts that go into the water. It's all rickety, so they're supposed to be crooked. And then I start building in the structure of the little boathouse. And this is always the scariest part for me, is when you take something that's more abstract in the background and then you have to actually put structure and create something with it. So you're like, okay, I hope I do this right because I got one chance or I get to redo the whole painting. So it's a little nerve-wracking. You can see in that back window there, I put it in when the paper was still too wet and it just kind of spread everywhere, but I actually like that effect better, and I go and put more definition in it at a later time, but it looks better to me in the end than the front windows, so I had to go fix those later as well. I'll fix a lot later. Then I put in the bushes there on the left and a little structure on the right just to kind of balance things out. And there's me putting in the back window, and I really like the way that looks. I like it a lot. Now I'm putting the reflections in the water, and they didn't turn out quite like I wanted. I do mess with that later. Here you can see I let the painting sit for a while and I just couldn't handle it. There's things I didn't like, so I kind of erased this paper, this paint, whatever the combination is. Holy cow, you can lift it however you want, as light as you want. So it's kind of like you get a second chance, which is pretty cool, but you got to be careful. So be careful with that. I just couldn't leave it alone. I'd look at it, think I'd be done. I'm like, no, that bush has got to go. No, that's too dark over there. I got to change that. But finally, I was happy with it. Here's the final version. It took me 1 hour and 29 minutes altogether to do this little painting. And I could have just left things alone right there and had a nice little video, but I was having way too much fun. And so I decided to do this little picture, at least my version of it, which is pretty close, I think. Anyway, if you've never painted with a limited palette, I really recommend you do that. There's something just really freeing about only having, in this case, 5 color choices. It really challenges you to create the color mixes that you're looking for. And it also kind of frees up your brain. I know that sounds weird, but when you have a limited palette, you just know those are the only colors you get to choose from. So it's not like a brain activity where you have to go, oh my gosh, I have 24 or 36 colors and it could be this orange or this red or this purple or whatever. It's like, nope, you got these 5 colors and this is what you get to make your painting from. And it makes it easy. I think it makes it easy. And the vibrancy of these paints just made this painting come together. I was even able to get super dark darks. And I wanted my darks in this case to have a purplish tint. So of course I used the blue and the red to make a purple and darken them as much as I could with the green and the brown and adding a lot of blue in it. So it's really actually a lot of blue. The trees took forever. I didn't really enjoy doing them either. They were just kind of, I don't know, repetitive, intricate, detailed, I don't know, annoying. But I'm like, well, the trees are kind of an integral part of the way this painting looks, so you just got to do the trees. And there's my little cat. I need to add another back leg on that. And the original painting had a tombstone in there where I put the little guy. I didn't want a tombstone in mine. And here I mixed gouache with a little bit of color so that my stars were not just white. I did a little bit of yellow stars, pink stars, and I think I put some blue stars in as well. And this should have been done before the trees. People, if you do this, put your stars in, your splatters in before the trees, because then I had to go back on the tree and erase the stars because the tree should not have stars on it. So don't make my mistake. But anyway, there it is, finished. Quite happy with it. And really the only last thing to do is to put my signature on it. This one took 1 hour and 3 minutes, by the way, and to get it off this block, I just take my ruler. I have a kind of a flat plastic ruler and I slip it in the little open section at the top and just pull it all the way around until the paper comes out. And here are the 2 paintings all finished. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this kind of content and the other content on my channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. All right, have a great day. Thank you for spending your time with me. See you in the next video.